what we'd like to do is, we tried this town hall last year, and it went pretty well. It's a little bit of an open forum. It's a little bit of, okay, what did you hear today? You know, what sticks, what doesn't stick? But part of what it is like, okay, we talk a lot about strategy in the morning. We get a little bit more tactical, a little more operational in the afternoon. But sometimes there's like, okay, well, what do I need to buy to make this happen? Or what do I need to, you know, get rid of and replace? What is the technology that's going to help me execute this stuff? So what I thought we'd do is just have a quick round of openings. Amy, I'm going to ask you to just say a quick hello. Tell us a little bit about your present job. I know you were just recently in the retail space. As was Harvey, who will kind of tell us a little bit about himself. And then we'll go John, and then we'll wrap up with Rachel. So Amy?
Yeah, as you can tell, I wasn't ready for that, so let's see what I come up with. Thank you, everybody, for sticking to the end of the day. It's always hard to switch gears from, like, doing things all day to listening, and then I think, like, by lunch, at least I'm usually done listening, so kudos to you guys to have made it this far. I was recently in retail and had been, running e-com for a variety of apparel, beauty brands, and I had my own consulting company for a while. I recently moved into private equity. So I work for a private equity company called Cerberus, and I work on what's called an operating platform. We have a technology operating platform, and I run the digital and e-commerce practice. And so essentially what I do there is, we're internal consultants for the companies that we purchase. And focusing on e-commerce and digital marketing, which is my area of expertise for at least 16 years now. And I have the special privilege of not only working on our portfolio companies, but I can work on external corporate, so any brands that you guys may have, and also for the portfolio companies that are owned by other private equity shops, which is really interesting. So. That's my
Harvey, another one of our legacy speakers from the early days of GELF, when we learned about Crocs booming and maybe even downsizing. Tell us a little bit about where you are now.
Sure. So, as was just said, I was at Crocs for about 7 years, VP, Director of Operations for digital. So really responsible for the global platform that is enabling their hyper growth now. I left there about 3 years ago, went to Christie Sports in Colorado, which is a 50 or 60 plus store chain of ski and snowboard retail and rental throughout the Intermountain West and Pacific Northwest, and left there just a couple months ago, and now at Red Van Workshop, which is a systems integrator in the Salesforce space. The common thread of all of this is Salesforce Commerce Cloud, Demandware underneath the covers. I was about employee 11 at Demandware. Was there for about 7 years, created the retail practice, and helped many of the brands that people think about when they think about the Demandware global expansion, helping them with their global expansion in essence. So Crocs, Columbia, Burton.
Demandware, one of our original sponsors. Absolutely. Back when we were at the whiskey bar.
So now I'm at an SI side helping our customers do that again, or keep doing it and do it more. So.
John, say a quick hello. John's with the CoreSite team, which we're delighted to partner with this year.
Good afternoon, John Harmon. I'm with CoreSite Research. We are a research and professional services firm. I manage the technology team. On the research side, we operate at the intersection of retail and technology. On the retail side, we cover sectors in retail like apparel and footwear, specialty retail, department stores, home improvement, and grocery, but also other consumer trends like demographics. My mind just went blank. What else we do? Macroeconomics, everything about the consumer. And on the technology side, I have a team. We cover everything from AI to in-store technology to cloud computing to loss prevention. And on the professional services side, we provide services for our clients, including advisory, which is consulting, events, co-branded research, where a company will commission us to do a research report, and also we do a lot of work with startups, which we call innovators. So we provide research and services for them to help them get the word out about what they do.
And Rachel, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. But my name is Rachel. I work for 11 by Venus, which is Venus Williams' tennis and athletic brand. So everything you see her wearing on court, with the exception of her shoes, is usually by us. And I run all of her back-end supply chain, so everything from the in and the out, making sure every customer from e-com and on the wholesale side are getting what they need, managing the warehouse relationships, as well as all of our vendors and platforms to make sure all the product and data and good stuff in the background is all talking the way it needs to be, and working the way it needs to be.
So we opened up this morning with this idea that D2C is being redefined, if you will, about, kind of owning the customer relationship, but then meeting them wherever they are, right? So maybe it's your D2C channel, maybe it's your store, maybe it's your partner stores and things like that. So, meeting the customer, boy, that sounds easy to do, but that usually involves understanding the data. And we've heard a lot of the speakers talk about, Heather, hey, we looked at the data and we realized we needed to do a pop-up in a garage out in the East Hamptons. So maybe an interesting or a far-fetched view of meeting the customer. But John, you've done some recent research on kind of customer data platforms and things like that. I mean, what are you seeing from the research, both from a domestic and international perspective? I mean, are people able to, know and find their customers, and what are the technology solutions that are out there to help them do this?
I think every day it gets harder and harder to go where the customer is, because consumers, especially since the pandemic, they were cut off from physical stores, and they started exploring a lot of other retail channels. So customers are on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, on their phone, on their work PC, on their home PC. They're kind of everywhere. So there really is a challenge to get to know them. And often in these channels, they're browsing around. They're not leaving their name or their email address. So they're leaving these cookie crumbs of data across a wide variety of channels. But yet there is another customer database that retailers can buy called the Customer Data Platform. So it turns out, industry experts say, about 70% of the customers that you see online are unknown to you. And one of our clients told me 40% of customers check out as a guest because they don't want to be bothered by putting in their personal information. So a customer data platform connects all these breadcrumbs across these various platforms and reconstructs the consumer identity so that you have a single view of the customer, which you can use for marketing, segmentation, targeting, and so on.
So Amy, we had a different conversation about it. So sometimes it's technology, but sometimes it's people and process. And you made a great point that a lot of organizations have lost touch with old school direct marketing. They don't really have the resources to understand this kind of shift to first-party data and zero-party data. What are you guys seeing at work now?
It's a really interesting time because there is a tension between privacy and personalization that's happening right now. With iOS 14 and Google talking constantly about the deprecation of third-party cookies, companies haven't quite yet figured out how to get the first-party data that they're going to need in the future, and most of them also are, if they are capturing it, they're certainly not using it in a way that they'll need to in the future. So it's really interesting to see, you may notice some media companies starting to gate content a little more, and it's because they are starting to see the value of that first-party data. And everyone feels differently about this. Like, some people are like, I won't give you any of my data in exchange for personalization. It's creepy. I don't want you following me. I'm the complete opposite. I probably have a very boring life. Take all that you want, just don't please show me a diaper commercial ever again, because I do not have kids and probably won't, right? So everyone's somewhere on this spectrum of, yes, personalize for me, or, my life is private and I want it to stay that way. And so how companies navigate that world in a way that drives conversion and drives sales with the changes in technology and these large platforms changing what's trackable, I think is going to be something that's really interesting to watch in the future.
Yeah. Harvey?
So just to build up on that, I think one of the really interesting things I've heard today is how complex global e-commerce has gotten, right? If you think back to the origins of GELF, it was like if you had a website that was in a foreign language to the U.S. Space business in that currency with that tax rule shipping from that country, that was like master's level class, right? And now that's table stakes. And now it's a matter of how do you merge that with third party and first party in that marketplace? How do you merge that with the wholesale activities and the wholesale activities that are going online and manage that in a holistic level so that the consumer, that your brand makes sense to consumer wherever your brand is showing up, because there's so much transparency and it's happening all at once. So from my perspective, what's really interesting is push the conversation deeper into the organization as it relates to enabling technology. And instead of the website or the front end technology being the enabler, it's really the CDP or really the thing that feeds the CDP is the order management system, and getting order management systems out of ERP systems and making them standalone applications for digital marketers to really bring all this data together, cleanse it, and make it actionable for consumer insights. So, I think it's a really interesting pivot deeper into the technology stack that's now the blocker, or better said, the enabler of even further expansion or better customer experiences. And to think that that deep AS400 layer, from back in the day is now the thing that defines whether or not your brand can modernly show up to a consumer is crazy.
Yeah. Rachel, we talked a good bit about, you're with the operations. The marketing people are supposed to be the ones that know everything about the customer, and yet in many cases, you guys are the ones that are, touching the customer ultimately when you're pushing the products out and things like that. Tell us a little bit from an operations perspective. What needs to be done? Is there more work that the marketing team can do to make your job easier? Because I know they don't make it easy all the time.
I mean, the easy answer is communication, right? I'm only good to be able to execute based on the information and directive that we get. But that said, we're also not the punching bag in operations. We are a forgotten soldier, and I think you said that very aptly last year, to the point that we are the wheels that make it go. We are the axle in that, and that's something that you have to be cognizant of as you're planning these projects out. Because we are the last touch point. So that doesn't mean you throw it over the fence and let someone else handle it down that supply chain, but how do collectively we work together to make that end result to that customer happen. And we are that touch point, whether it's the packaging in which they're receiving it, it's the poly bag in which they're touching it, it's how are we getting it there. All of these things have a cost associated to it, but also has a perception on the other side from whoever that end user is to make sure it happens the way that it needs to as efficiently as possible.
Another theme that we've heard throughout the day is this idea of getting inventory closer to the customer. And Harvey, we'll kind of come back to some of the order management, inventory management advancements that need to be seen. It certainly makes some sense when Ana Luisa can fulfill all of their international demand from the U.S. They're shipping usually small, lightweight pieces of jewelry. That doesn't always work for people that may have a bulkier product or something like that, where, as we were talking next door a half hour ago, sometimes it's about revisiting 3PL strategies in Europe and things like that. So I want to kind of put that topic on the table, just the idea that, inventory visibility is great, but, what does it take from a systems perspective? What are you seeing, Harvey, as far as, kind of this, I don't want to call it next generation order management, but I think that's the direction that I think we need to go here.
I think the conversation starts with how expensive or burdensome inventory has become to businesses. The supply chain issues only exacerbated that issue. Obviously, channel disparity is another multiplier. It's almost impossible to forecast with accuracy what channel, which unit is going to be sold in. So figuring out your system so that the old world of physically separated inventory in a 3PL that was for e-commerce that wholesale didn't have access to, or virtually segmented inventory in your quote-unquote omnichannel warehouse where e-commerce had this inventory and then retail stores had this inventory and wholesale had that inventory for the same SKU, but it was virtually untouchable and theoretically owned, but you had consumer demand in one versus the other. So, again, centralized control and removing the barriers to the customer that's ready with cash in hand at the moment that they're ready, when they're ready in the channel in which they're ready to transact, is really critical to growth. There's nothing worse than e-commerce transactions not happening because size 7 or the blue one or whatever your variation is on your website is sold out, but there's 10,000 units over in wholesale because there might be an order come in 60 days from now. Right. Again, the legacy way of thinking, just driving those sort of consumer experiences because they're business operation centric, and turning those inside out is absolutely critical to success. So there's lots of applications out there, but the federated centralized inventory sharing application, and then treating all businesses equal as close to real time as you can.
Yeah. Amy, are you guys doing anything? I know you guys, some genius guys down in the basement there that are doing all sorts of AI machine cranking and stuff like that. Anything that you can share as far as what you guys are looking at from more of the investor's perspective?
Well, we're more than halfway through and no one has said AI yet, so I feel somewhat obligated to say AI.
Well, that was the setup.
I'm gonna make a T-shirt company someday, and I had already thought of one of my first top sellers. It's going to be, "Don't talk to me about AI anymore, please." So we're part of an operating platform that's technology-based. So a big part of my group is data scientists and engineers, and I'm lucky to sit near these guys. They're super smart. I don't know what the hell they're doing because I'm an e-com and digital marketing person, a marketing person at core. But some of what Harvey's talking about is going to change with AI because there's really, really exciting predictive modeling happening by these super smart guys. I don't know how they do it. I couldn't tell you. Put you in touch with them. But they're able to predict some of this stuff finally. And they're able to take unstructured data and make sense of it in an automated way that's super fast. It takes a lot of compute. And so from just a pure heaviness of data perspective, and I'm not using the right technical terms here, it's expensive, but we've done some really amazing stuff that just blows my mind away. We've done an AI model that predicts the ROAS for social influencer for one of our portfolio companies, and I'm talking to 4 other brands about, hey, do you want us to try to build that for you? Because it's, predicting within, I think the data science guy said within 12%. Okay, well 12% is not great, but you know what? You might be off by 120%, so it's pretty damn good because you just don't know without a model like this. And there's regular work happening on our teams that have to do with intaking things like invoices that are in all types of different formats, using AI to put them into some type of cleansed databases and automated workflows that are, yes, in some ways taking the job of people, but also freeing up people to do more complex, more value-add human-type things. So at least that's the way I'm looking at the world of AI, and some of what's going to happen with prediction for inventory management, I think, is going to be really exciting when we unleash some of these models.
Yeah, I think some of the conversations that came up as we were talking to speakers over the last couple of months was it kept coming back to sizing. It's like AI is going to really make size. Some of this double XL at the clearance rack that we were talking about with Valerie Earl. It's like the clearance stuff's going to disappear because we're going to figure out exactly what number of what the sizes are for this channel, for this segment, all of that. So John, tell us a little bit. I know you've been doing some AI work. What are you seeing as far as what's real and what's next, and maybe what's hypey?
Ooh, that's a dangerous question.
Well, you're the tech guy. Go wild.
Because in terms of hype, people are acting like AI was invented 11 months ago. Yeah, and it's 40 years old, right?
Right.
And we're all using AI every day, even though we don't know it. If you use the Waze wayfinding app, there's AI. Or if YouTube's telling you, it's machine learning. Or if YouTube's telling you what video you should watch next, that's machine learning. But I think generative AI it's really groundbreaking, because it's so, the CEO of NVIDIA put it this way, that the next programming language is going to be human language, that you can talk to your data in plain English or whatever language you speak, and you can find relationships and insights in your data. So it doesn't take programming Data scientists will have a lot to do, but you don't need someone to program a dashboard for you. It lets you do these ad hoc queries on your data without programming. And I think, in addition, I think one of the huge unsung benefits of generative AI is its ability to generate computer code. That's boring, but it's really important to a lot of people, and it's going to create huge, huge productivity increases, things that couldn't be done before.
That's definitely something that we've heard. Just how do you kind of feed the engine, so to speak? And we could keep going on that. Again, conversation starts here, goes out throughout the day. The bar opens in 3 minutes, so I'm not going to stop anybody from getting there. But I do want to wrap up with sustainability. Rachel, thank you for hosting the roundtable earlier. Tell us a little bit from an operations perspective. Again, there's what you hear and what's real, and unfortunately sometimes what we want to hear isn't always real when it comes to sustainability. So I guess kind of give us a reality check on what you're seeing down at the dock, so to speak.
I'm going to preface this by saying this is my personal feeling and not on behalf of any one company, person, or otherwise. But that said, I think one of the things I said to you is the unfortunate reality is it's become a buzzword here in the U.S. There is no monitoring of it. There's no consistency in what that message is, what these messages mean, how are consumers receiving that message, and understanding it. And we kind of have to look at this from a different perspective. The reality for me is every touch point costs $1, but on the flip side, what is that value? So I have to present that back to the company for the company to make decisions for what's best. And it's a matter of pick and choosing. If you're not going to be the biggest financial company out there on the block, what makes the most sense for your consumer, but making sure you do so without the hypocrisy of it. And I gave the example at the roundtable. We have fabric for our customer. We're making tennis wear that has SPF in it, that is made from recycled water bottles. All of this really resonates and becomes really important. On the flip side, if you're shipping it in a poly bag that's not recyclable, in a carton that's massive, guess what? You're now a hypocrite, and you might have lost that customer and what they're understanding. So making sure that message is consistent. But on the flip side, not looking at the big picture of it and trying to figure out, okay, what can I start tacking off? Is it in the fabrication? Is it in how I'm shipping it? Is it the box that it's going out in? All of these things, while small, can have a big impact. And as you think about it globally, I've given the example of Germany. We have a very big company in Germany that we partner with. They're e-com based. We have fabric that I just mentioned, and it then qualifies within Europe as PPE, which is professional gear. Well, that needs certain labeling in it, and the entire lot of clothing came back to us. It's a learning experience, right? It's not, oh my God, what did we do wrong? It's, okay, now if we're going to branch out globally on the wholesale side, what is that need? What are the laws and regulations, and how can we better do so within our business to plan for it in the future? And thinking about that in a very different perspective. It's not the last touch point. It's got to start at the very first touch point, and don't think of it as unaccomplishable.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you bringing that up as we kind of wrap things up, because we've talked a lot about, okay, yes, we are looking beyond that D2C channel that, largely we control. We like the margins, we like the customer data and all. But, anytime you're kind of involving more partners, whether they're new D2C retail partners or traditional wholesale partners, you give up some of that control, and that's going to be a problem for some of the sustainability goals. So in closing, any questions? I know we threw a lot at you there, but really just kind of wanted to get the conversation continuing out into the reception area. If not, I'm going to ask you guys to give these guys a round of applause, and we're all going to head out and enjoy ourselves. So again, one last thank you to everybody, the people behind the scenes, all of you that have spent your day with us, all the speakers that have been so kind to, be pestered by me and, get up on stage and come to calls and be here. So thanks again. Go out, enjoy yourself, walk up and introduce yourself to people and, keep the conversation going. We'll be back here next year around this time. So thanks again, and have a good afternoon and enjoy the reception.